Hello everyone. Poetry is the overflow of powerful ideas based on emotions recollected in tranquility. These are the words of William Wordsworth on poetry. Hello everyone. Today we'll be having a discussion on the poem Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day, written by the great English playwright and poet William Shakespeare. So let's move on. Through this video, we will be first discussing what is a sonnet and what are its characteristics. Then we'll be looking into the life of Shakespeare, who was he, what were his major works, etc. Then we'll be moving on to the poem, discussing the content and the poetic devices for the first 7 lines of the poem. So I hope we can move on. First of all, what is a sonnet? A sonnet is a 14-lined poem which deals with a variety of subjects, which can include love, friendship, etc. And it is mostly written in iambic pentameter. So a sonnet is a 14-lined poem, usually written in iambic pentameter, which can be written on any theme like love, friendship, etc. Shakespeare, as we all know, was a renowned English poet, famous for his works including Macbeth, Julius Caesar, Romeo and Juliet, etc. He also has authored 154 sonnets, of which one we'll be discussing today. So he was known as the Bard of Avon and was born in England in 23rd April 1564. So Shakespeare was a very famous poet and playwright in English. His famous works include Julius Caesar, Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, etc., along with 154 sonnets. And he was born on 15th April 1564. He was also known as the Bard of Avon. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? A rhetorical question is a question which is used in the poetry to give it a more dramatic effect to that particular poem. It need not be answered by the reader or by anyone, but it is a question. So this poem begins with such a question: Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? The poet is referring to someone, whether he can compare that person to a summer's day, and the next line gives us the answer for that question, which is, thou art more lovely and more temperate. Now we know why he wanted to compare that person to a summer's day. Why? Because that person was more lovely and more temperate, and thus Shakespeare thought, well, I should compare him to a summer's day since it's more similar. So through the next 5 lines, Shakespeare gives us the reason, or Shakespeare is trying to make a point. And let's see what's it. So the next line, rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. What is it? A normal person's beauty is affected by natural forces, whereas this particular person's beauty is not. It remains totally unaffected. Okay, so this is our first point. Please note it down. The poet tries to give the beauty of that person an eternal character. So now coming to the next line, and sometimes summer's lease hath all too short a date, and often and sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines. This gives us the next hint. So when the poet says the eye of heaven, can you guess what's it? Yeah, it's none other than the sun, which means eye of heaven is a metaphor for sun. So this is a poetic device number 2, metaphor, sun. Eye of heaven, sun. Okay, eye of heaven. Why nothing else? Because if you may have observed the nature, you can understand one thing. During hot summer days or simply sunny days, which is very hot, we cannot look at the sun with naked eyes. That's why Shakespeare compares sun to the eye of it. Okay. So now coming to the next line, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, which means, okay, which means same ideas provided here also. That is, that particular person's beauty remains unaffected, though the same sun, the same heat affects the other people's beauty. Or, if it affects, even though it affects my beauty, it won't affect that particular person's beauty. It's like saying in that way. Hope you understood it, right? So now I think you have got a clue, right? Yeah. Next line. And every fair from fair sometimes declines. That's all. That's it. Here we get a one something, some more clarification, some more clear idea on that. The poet says that every fair from fair sometimes declines. Got it? Yeah. Everyone else's beauty gets affected by physical factors and decreases or declines or deteriorates by over time. But not this one's, not this person's. So through these 7 lines, Shakespeare was trying to make his point that this person's beauty is eternal, or he was trying to give that person's beauty an eternal characteristic. So that's the key point of these first 7 lines of the poem. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now coming to the poetic devices, we had, I just discussed one or two before some minutes. First one is a rhetorical question used in the beginning of the poem. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? That itself is a rhetorical question, no doubt. Now, metaphor, eye of heaven, sun, gold complexion, sun. Okay. So, that are the major poetic devices used in the poem. Okay, there are others also. There is hyperbole used. Okay, hyperbole is used in various instances in this poem. So that's all about the poem. First of all, the poem begins with a rhetorical question. The poet is trying to ask a question. Shall I compare thee to summer's day? Then he wants to make a point that to the next 5 lines, that this particular person's beauty is totally unaffected by any physical factors. That's the key point of this poem, and based on that are the other points built. I hope you understood this video very well. In case of any doubts, don't forget to comment. Signing off, this we Joseph.
Now we can discuss about the next lines. By chance or nature's changing course until, but the eternal summer shall not fade. Here, beauty may fade due to random events or natural change, and his friend's beauty will remain forever by this poem. Nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall that brag thou wanderest in his shade. Here, um, he will not lose his loveliness to his friend, and death cannot claim you as its own. When in eternal lines to time thou grows, so long as man can breathe or eye can see, here his friend will live on through these immortal verses, and as long as people exist can read it and enjoy it. So long lives this, and this life gives you tea. Here we know poet is writing this poem about his friend. So this poem will keep him alive forever in this. Poetic devices are the tool that poet uses to enhance the meaning, sound, and overall impact of their poetry. And here the poet uses some poetic words in this poem. He uses the word the eternal summer. It's an example for metaphor. It compare the beloved beauty to never-ending summer. How shall that brag thou wanderest in his shade? This is an example for personification. Personification means words are that given human qualities. Another poetic device is that poet uses that alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of sounds, the repetition of consonant sounds that so long lives this, and this gives life to T. Here, the sound I is repeating. Imagery. Vivid descriptions like eternal summer and death shade. It creates strong mental imagery. Enjambment. Enjambment lines flow into next without a pause, especially between when in eternal lines to time though grossed, and so long as men can breathe or eyes can see. It is an example for enjambment. These poetic devices work together to highlight the theme of immortalizing beauty through poem. While natural beauty fades with time, the poet claims that the beloved's beauty will live forever through the eternal lines of the sonnet. As long as people exist to read the poem, and the subject will remain alive in their hearts and minds. In essence, Shakespeare declares that poetry can grant immortality. Shakespeare's beautiful poem, Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? I hope everyone should read and enjoy this poem. Thank you.